Hi there. Welcome to the Twin Cities Real Estate Show. We're back live on Facebook. It's been a little while. Lots of colds and injuries and whatever going around. And so it's been, I think 4 or 5 weeks since we've been able to do a show, if not a little bit longer.
Who got injured? Was it show related?
No, Chad had the finger chainsaw thing.
Oh, talk about that
Yes.
later, I guess.
He's all right. He's all right. But that held it up for a couple weeks, and so but we're back. So we're going to be doing a little bit.
All our fingers.
Chad has all his too. We're back, yes, and we're going to be doing a little bit different format, trying this out, which is 2-part shows. But for people watching on Facebook, it's going to be one long show as far as you're going to see it. But for the podcast, it's going to be broken down into 2 parts. So you're going to see me do 2 intros throughout this show. But yeah, be prepared for that. You ready to do the show? We're going to be doing online searching and researching tools. So if you are casually looking or thinking about getting started searching or selling, you're going to want to watch this. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right, sweet. Here we go. All these like Facebook Live, it's like going to the gas pump now with the buttons. Do you want this? Yeah. Do you want this? Do you want this? No, I don't want these.
Are you getting a car wash?
No, I'm not getting a car wash. I don't want the car wash.
Do you want a receipt?
I just want to be live. Okay, here we go. All right. Are you thinking about buying or selling a house? Or just want to know what might be going on with your biggest investment? Then come hang out with us for a little while. Hi, I'm Kirk Duckwall. Welcome to the Twin Cities Real Estate Show, sponsored by Bricks Real Estate Network. Title Eric Bloomstrand and Chad Preby with Bell Bank Mortgage, and James Tolfson with Country Financial. If you have any questions for us, you can give us a call at 651-303-0019. Again, 651-303-0019. And you can always check us out online anytime at brickstwincities.com, where you can see the latest and greatest searching and researching tools. You can also follow us live on our Facebook page as well, where we record most Tuesdays around noon. That's exactly what, though, we're going to be talking about today, is those online searching and researching tools. I'd like to welcome Danny Dietl, broker with Bricks Real Estate, joining me today. Thank you for coming in to go over this.
Thanks for having me.
Looks like you're enjoying that coffee.
I am.
Well, we're back after a hiatus for a while. As I was mentioning in the Facebook Live feed, some sicknesses and injuries and schedule issues, but glad to be doing this as we sit, October 27th, as we're recording this show. We're going to be doing a little bit different format for those people listening on AM 950 and the podcast, and that's going to be 2-part shows that we're going to be doing. So today we're going to be talking about those online searching and researching tools, and then the next show we'll be kind of wrapping up on how to use some of those, and then talk about what our market is doing going in to the fall. We've definitely seen some really interesting and fast changes in our real estate market. And so in part 2, we'll get a little bit more into that piece. So there's a lot to choose from when it comes to online searching and researching tools. I mean, what is it, 4,000 some real estate sites, maybe more now?
Well, I mean, virtually every agent has their own site as well. So, I mean, locally you probably have 10,000 plus.
Yeah, and there's many different layouts those agents or brokerages can choose, the content that they want to put forward, the order in which listings are being presented. It can be a lot for somebody looking to just gather information of where to get the best information. I mean, you have, if I remember correctly, I think with our site, you can select our listings to show up first versus others, right?
Yeah.
And price points and all of that. So, how do you get that kind of unbiased look at the market? I think that's the hardest thing out there, as consumers to know the good starting points. Well, we should just right out of the gate address the elephant in the room. I mean, I think we all use or have used Zillow at one point or another.
Yeah, and Zillow. So like where you search and how you search or look for information is going to be very dependent on where you are in the process. I mean, we were talking about, when you're traveling. Well, if I'm in California, I'm not actively looking for a house. As I drive, down Highway 1, I'll usually have it set at show me the highest price listings first, because I want to see what a $20 million mansion.
Are you like me? Like every time you take a vacation somewhere, you're like, I want to buy a house here.
Yeah, of course. Especially warm weather like that. But yeah, so
I've never actually done that.
Especially not at the California Highway 1. Show me the highest price listings first purchases. But that goes back to, that's really just a casual search. That is a curiosity search. It's more for fun. Sites like Zillow are really fantastic for that. Because
is that how you found the open house when we were in San Diego, and it was like the one on the beach for $7 million and the one off the beach for like $3 million?
Yeah. No, that was a walk by open house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, open house on the beach. Let anybody come through in a $7 million house.
Why not?
But yeah, so you're not really a prospective buyer at that point. So if the data is off or the listings are off or you're missing a listing, it doesn't matter. You don't know and you really don't care. Because it'll grasp your attention for a few minutes, satisfy whatever itch you have to scratch in terms of just curious in general, what's the most expensive house going for around here. So sites like Zillow or even realtor sites are fine for that. The problem with the realtor sites is they're more apt to try and capture your information to release information.
Yeah, and you can't even look at the details without having a lead capture form.
Yeah, and that's really where Zillow came to prominence. Was agents were kind of the gatekeepers of information, had lots of data, but had mousetraps set up essentially.
Right.
So you go to a site, in order to get to the next step, you got to put in your email and phone, and then you go down that road. So Zillow really stepped in, earned the trust of consumers by providing a lot of really great information for free.
Right. And, I think, the Zillow's, Trulia, Realtor.com. Now, Zillow and Trulia are owned by the same company. So, for anybody who doesn't know that, they are one and the same.
And realestate.com.
And realestate.com. And I think some rental sites as well.
Mm-hmm. I think they have hot pads.
Yep. So, and I think the first thing to understand as a consumer out there, if you're using the right tools, you really will have all the listings in one spot. There is no need to go from site to site to site to site to try to find listings. Now, can you do it that way and find different information on different sites? Yeah, but you're kind of trying to make that square wheel turn. You can do it, but it's going to be cumbersome versus just finding the right sites out of the get-go, which we'll talk about shortly. But yeah, for the casual looking, it's great. Those what I call them third-party marketing-based sites. You say aggregator sites, But and so where they excel is that they have a lot of neighborhood information history on properties. That's one of my
pricing trends and
yeah. I mean, every year I go to Zillow for their buyer and seller trend data. Amazing. Their researching department is awesome when it comes to that stuff. There's a lot that can be valuable.
Yeah, and some of those sites have things that, as realtors, we have our code of ethics. We have certain things that are kind of off limits, demographic conversations, things like that, that these sites don't have to abide by in the same way. So a little.
I will say, Trulia pulled their crime maps.
Oh, did they?
I can't find them anymore.
Huh.
So I think that's showing their intentions.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like you have the walk scores, the school rankings, Yeah, that tax history. I like that one. Where have property taxes gone? The sales history. Honestly, they're really that's as far as I know, not many other sites outside of the MLS can you find that sales history information of what a property has sold for previously.
Or it'll have most recent sale price, but it won't have the comprehensive full history.
Yeah. Yep. I have seen that.
Yep.
But where does it go wrong? Why do we as agents, recommend other sites and not the Zillows and Trulias? And I think that's really important to understand that piece of it. If we're talking about all these positives, well, where do they fail? Where do those cause frustrations? And I think any active buyer who's been real serious, especially in a market like ours, is gonna see that the statuses may not be up to date. And they may not be, they'll find a house, they love the house. And little tip real quick, don't fall in love with homes online. That is like one of if you want to guarantee yourself that you're not going to like it, fall in love with it online. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we talk about speccing it out and checking it out. But it's that's really important. But yeah, going back to the failures, you'll go on there, you'll find these houses that say active and they've been sold. Right.
And so as we know, that status changes in the MLS. So the MLS being the multiple listing service, which we'll get into a little more, but that is all these sites kind of flow downstream from the MLS, and then the MLS is in control of what data points are released to these sites. So the next one is, when a property is sold, subject to inspection. We get calls all the time from consumers that want to see this property. Hey, sorry, it's sold. So in a lot of ways, people are chasing ghosts.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, and you can just run in circles. I mean, I go to you don't want to be looking at the wrong homes while the right homes are selling, staying up all night, finding all these houses that aren't available. It would be much more good use of your time to find ones that are. Well, we got to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Okay, ready to move into the next segment?
Sure. AVMs.
Well, I have a piece to touch on real quick.
All right.
Facebook, don't worry, Danny's just texting people.
Just making sure, get an appointment scheduled for a house that is not sold contingent.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Twin Cities Real Estate Show on AM 950. If you have any questions for us, give us a call, 651-303-0019. Again, 651-303-0019. Today I have Danny Dietl, Broker Bricks Real Estate, in with us talking about online searching and researching tools. We were discussing, the Zillows, Trulias, Realtor.coms of the world, and the frustrations of finding houses on there that may not truly be for sale because they've already accepted an offer. One of the things I did a video a few years back, Danny, that I think brought out an even bigger stressor, which was, okay, it's frustrating to find a home and find out that it's been sold. But what's even more frustrating is to not see a home that's actively on the market.
Absolutely.
Right? And I've done it. I've done a comparison between the MLS and the Zillows and Trulias and find houses that are not being published to those sites. Because it is, at least at this point in time, it is an option if you want your listing pushed.
It's an option, and it's on our listing agreements where it's determined on where these properties go. There's a section of 4 yes or no questions, and it's honestly, you read it, you could check no and not have any idea that means it doesn't go to Zillow, the most searched website. And some agents just have no clue on what that means and what the repercussions are. By no means is Zillow guaranteed to have 100% accuracy. Because it is an option, certain brokers and agents still have kind of an antiquated belief that it shouldn't be there, or unintentionally don't place it there, not knowing what they are doing.
Yeah, it's. I don't know what sellers would not want their listings to go out to a national site. I know there's a lot of real estate agents that probably wish that Zillow wasn't around, but they are, and they're a player out there. And why wouldn't you want your listing to go there? To be there. At the end of the day, we have broker reciprocity, and now that Zillow is a brokerage out there, I mean, it's going to happen no matter what. That's
well, yeah, and again, they filled a void. Agents tried to be the gatekeeper of data and information. That backfired, and Zillow filled that void.
Yep. So, okay, there are some downfalls that we talked about. Let's discuss, what are some of the good tools that we use as agents and we recommend for buyers and sellers to use to get the most accurate data about either their property or properties that they're looking at purchasing. So let's start out with the MLS, Multiple Listing Service. All right. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a long explanation, but it's important to understand. And Danny, correct me if I'm saying anything that's incorrect here, but each agent has to hold their license with a broker, and they have to be a part of an association, and that brokerage is part of an association. And there are rules that state within being part of that association that you're going to subscribe to a certain MLS system. And that those rules state, as part of being part of that MLS system, that every listing that's listed, that when it goes live, and now in even a coming soon status, has to be listed in that MLS system first and foremost, and you will be fined if you don't do it that way. And
with the exception of you can sign a withhold from MLS.
Yes.
But then you cannot market the property in any meaningful way, and certainly not online.
Right. So somebody who's jumping around thinking, oh, I'm going to catch it on Facebook Marketplace first or Craigslist. No, it's got to go into the MLS system.
Or Zillow.
Or Zillow.
There is no chance, unless it's a true for sale by owner. It will not be on Zillow and not on the MLS if it is listed by an agent. Correct.
And that's just a majority of the properties, in the realms of probably 98 or more percent of properties are going to be non for sale by owners. So if you know that is the database, well, why wouldn't you want to use that database as a consumer? Now, some people think that they can hop online and access the MLS because there's a company out there that uses that name. That is not the North Star MLS. It's actually funny. If you go to that website, down on the very bottom, it says, we are not the multiple listing service.
Well, not only that, but it's a grandfathered in name.
Right.
You're no longer allowed to use MLS in a domain.
Right. So, but there are ways you can access that information within the MLS. And what's so important is with that is when we look at those third-party sites, going back to those, that they are not only not feeding all the correct statuses, but they're not giving all the information that's being put into that listing, such as maybe room sizes, style of the home, especially if you're searching and have financing, like you're using FHA financing or VA financing, that information, that our financing restrictions isn't being fed through. And that's really important to have all the data at your fingertips and accurately and fast.
Well, including, even though agents are part of the MLS, the agent and brokerage sites are limited through their it's IDX. So
yes.
Even a broker and agent site has some limitations in a way
let's
that
talk
Zillow
about
does.
that real quick. So we just discussed MLS, but there is a subset in a sense of MLS, which is IDX, which is coming. It's being pushed from the MLS out to this IDX system. But again, not all the data. More of the status stuff is there. More of the dimensions are there, but there are still certain fields that aren't covered. But as you become more serious, this is definitely the types of sites you're going to want to use as you become serious in your searching or serious in your selling process. So that is more like your brokerage sites. So like our brickstwincities.com, right? You can go on there. You're going to have access to all the information as being pushed into that IDX system from the MLS. But as you become even more serious, you want to reach out to your agent and get set up. I mean, I have a client right now. She's not buying. She's looking at selling. But she wants a feed from the MLS as to what's happening, right? So we set her up on searches there. Now, there's one nice piece I think you mentioned, Danny, that sounds like MLS may start having editable searches. I know this feature has come through to HomeSpotter, or the app that we recommend, that you can edit and save. But it sounds like they're going to have the editable searches instead of just one save.
But even that may still have some limitations from a consumer side. I mean, the amount of data fields, I mean, there are dozens that I've never even touched within the MLS because you can get so unbelievably specific on what you're looking for.
So something I want to touch on before we wrap up this part of the show and bring it into next week is some of these other sites. Now, we said, reach out to your agent, get set up with MLS. If that's something you want to do, you can always reach out to us to set up searches if you're becoming more serious in the process. But there's also HomeSpotter. That's a great app that you can hop on, and it's feeding accurate statuses. I really like the Minneapolis Association of Realtors website, especially for data. If you want to know what's going on in your suburb, we're actually going to, in part 2, we're going to talk about some of the different trends, and all of that's pulled from the Minneapolis Association of Realtors. You don't need to be a realtor to pull that market data, so go to that website. It's great. Every suburb breaks things down by neighborhood for Minneapolis and St. Paul. So it's really our total marketplace, even though it's Minneapolis Association. MN Compass. If you're researching different locations, lots of good information there as to the number of rental properties in an area, number of families, things like that. Wonderful site. So that's mncompass.org. As you get closer and closer, you're going to want to know what interest rates are at. And so FreddieMac.com, great interest rate tracking tool there. Something that I look at from my Market Monday updates that I do. And then Forecast.org. Where does it look like interest rates may be going? So we're going to take this show into the next week and finish up with how to maybe utilize some of these tools to get the most out of them, as well as talking about where the market is currently sitting and where it's going to look like it's going for the rest of this fall market. So take care, everybody. We'll be back again next week. Be safe. 2-second break, and then we'll finish up the next show.
All right. I'm good.
I'm sure they're loving me going grabbing my water. All right, you ready?
Gotta stay hydrated, Kirk.
Mm-hmm. Too much caffeine. Here we go. So we didn't talk about AVM's, Zestiment's, CoreLogic, and Redfin. We did mention the others, so we're going to just bring that right into this next one.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Sure.
Are you thinking about buying or selling a house, or just want to know what might be happening with one of your biggest investments? Then come hang out with us for a little while. Hi, I'm Kirk Duckwall, and welcome to the Twin Cities Real Estate Show, sponsored by Bricks Real Estate Network Title, Eric Bloomstrad and Chad Preby with Bell Bank Mortgage, and James Tolson with Country Financial. If you have any questions for us, make sure you give us a call at 651-303-0019. Again, that's 651-303-0019. And you can also check us out online anytime at brickstwincities.com for the latest and greatest searching and researching tools. That's exactly what we're going to finish up talking about today. Last week, we were discussing some of the pros and cons of the big sites like Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com, started getting into why we like the MLS systems or IDX sites, as well as the Home Spotter tool. And again, if you want any more information on any of these things that we're talking about, you can always reach out. Again, the number 651-303-0019. We're going to, in just a second, get into how to utilize some of these different sites as to get the most out of it. But something we didn't get to last week was things, a lot of people will jump to the Zestimates as ways to evaluate value. And you got to be careful there, because if you're looking at just that Zestimate number versus the Zestimate range, you may be looking at a not so accurate reflection of where your value may be. Even Zillow themselves, they publish this data for off-market properties. This is key for off-market properties. So I'm bringing this up because of sellers that are using this estimate. They are only correct within 5% of sale price, only 41% of the time.
And that's going to vary substantially from market to market. They're better in our market than a lot of markets, but it's like anything. Sellers kind of want to hear what they want to hear. So if they like the number and it's high, they'll get fixated on that price. But as we know, pricing is fluid. It's elastic, and any snapshot in time at any moment is not necessarily the reality.
Right. So, if you really want more, look at the range. Look at that range that they put in. It'll say Zillow estimate range right below the Zestimate. So if you look at that and you see that the range is from 225 to 325, well, now you know how accurate that number might be. Whereas if it's a lot tighter, well, then they're a lot more confident. It's probably more stable sales within a given area. So what I found is if you look at that range, it tends to be a lot closer than what Zillow has. It within 10%, only 61% of the time. Come on, the weatherman has better odds than that, right? So what do we use? Well, we use tools like CoreLogic's AVM is one that we utilize if we want a quick snapshot of value. Redfin also has a tool. Some people will jump to, they'll jump to the county records and they'll look at the assessed sale price. And again,
probably the worst indicator.
Yeah. I think the county's going to assess whatever they need to see it at.
Well, in an appreciating market, it's lagging significantly, and in a depreciating market, it tends to be high.
Yeah. So, your best bets. Keep in mind these online resources are, as my brother puts it, blunt instruments of evaluation. Truly, the most accurate that you're going to get is a comparison market analysis.
Well, right? Even that'll have a lot of variety.
It will.
But it's what were the stats that you pulled on
agents? I'm not remembering the exact spread. It was accurate, I think, within that 5%, 85% of the time.
Okay,
something
so
along
better,
those lines.
But still, right? Still, some fluctuation. So even at the agent level, the expertise is going to vary, just because not all agents are created equal.
Right. Okay, so. That's the AVMs. Take them at face value. If you really want an evaluation of what a home is worth, talk to your agent. and hopefully you trust your agent. That's the way to figure out the value. Okay, for buyers though, there are good ways to use your online searching tools and bad ways. I joke in the classes that I teach, that a lot of people, they'll sit there, they'll look at properties by pulling out the phone, flipping through pictures, swiping left to right, and then, hey, honey, I like this one. Oh, that looks great. Let's go look at it, right? You just got sold. That's what they did to you, right? You did not evaluate that home for what your needs are. You got sold by pretty pictures, and that's not going to help when really trying to get the most out of online tools, because with the MLS or MLS-based IDX sites, you've basically been handed the keys to 747 and been told, hey, go fly it, right? There's a ton of information there for you to decipher if you want to. So the first thing I recommend before you ever look at the pictures is to look at the satellite view, right? Look at that satellite view. Is it next to a railroad tracks? Is it a corner lot? How big is the lot? Is it backing up to a pond? Is there a highway in the backyard? Is there a cemetery across the street? Granted, quiet neighbors. Is it in a commercial area? See if there's any resale objections that may cause you to drive out there and go, oh, I guess this isn't the right one.
Those sound fantastic. I want all of those. Can I have power lines too?
Yeah, high voltage power lines. Yeah. Exactly. So you can figure that out right away. And then if it looks good there, jump to the Google Street View. Save some gas. Help the environment a little bit. Go to the Google Street View. Look around. See if it's kind of got the vibe that you're looking for, right? You can figure all this out before you get into those photos. I think it's so important that speccing out the house is first and foremost. You're not going to sit there and close your eyes and walk into a dealership lot and touch a car and say, I want to go test drive it because the interiors look pretty. You need to know, is that a pickup truck? Is that a minivan? Is it going to have the spaces you want, the horsepower that you want? Is it going to have the transmission, whatever, gas mileage, all of that? Well, a house is the same way. Is it going to have the floor plan you want? I mean, before I got into the speccing it out, before checking it out piece, you'd show up at a property, oh, I didn't know it only had 2 bedrooms up and 1 was down. That's not going to work. Well, you can figure that out before you ever get out there.
Yeah. And Ice Cube wrote a song about this in 2011. It was spec yourself before you wreck yourself.
Wait, are you sure that was?
I think so. I think that's
okay. All right. Well, I'll trust you on that one.
All right.
So yeah, I mean, take a look at the room sizes. Take a look at the room locations. If you are like, well, I don't know sizes. I need to see it. You can feel it out a little bit.
Are you telling me my 2-seater Mazda Miata is not going to fit my family of 6?
I'm going to tell you that.
I can know that before I go there?
You can know that before you go there.
Interesting.
Yeah, that a 1,600 square foot home from one house to another house isn't larger than 1,600 square feet. No, it take that time to figure out spaces. If you're in your apartment or in your current house and you're like, I like the size of my bedroom, pull out a tape measure, measure it out. Or if I want a bigger bedroom, pull out the tape measure and measure it out. So that way when you're looking online, or I don't want a tight, narrow kitchen, check the kitchen dimensions. You can save yourself so much time, arguments, all of that by paying attention to those room sizes and room locations. When you do get to the pictures tell 1,000 lies. In the last show, I said, do not fall in love with a house online because it's not going to be the same when you get there as it is in the pictures. I don't know if I've ever had a client buy a house that they, quote unquote, fell in love with online. Have you?
Oh, not that I can think of. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got 1 minute left of this segment. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about where our market is going. There's been a lot of changes in a matter of just a few weeks, and yeah, a lot of stuff to cover because we're not that crazy seller's market we were 2 months ago. Things are shifting. So yeah, real quick, the best that you can do when using online tools is to take the time, read the data, understand, look fully into it, not just what you want to see. Look at everything. That's going to give you the best perspective.
Yeah, it'll create the best experience for you too. And we see buyer fatigue very often, and that's usually buyers who approach it in an incorrect manner.
Yeah, the shotgun approach, right? All right, we'll be right back. Is there a way to shut off the vibrate? It was coming through the mics.
Oh, this? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
No problem. All right, last segment. You ready?
Sure. I don't have any of this, so.
That's all right. I'll just be the commentator on this one.
I'll just be pretty.
Here we go. Welcome back to the Twin Cities Real Estate Show on AM 950. Well, we've seen a lot change in our marketplace. I do these videos I put up once a week, share with the agents of our brokerage, and it's always fun to look at the data because you can really see how our market does change week to week, and how we get these feelings when we're out and about with clients or seeing what the showing activity is on our listings, but then to know, is that really what the market's doing, or is that just ours? And so to know when is appropriate slower activity and isn't, I mean, the more knowledge that you have, the more that you can leverage the market to your advantage. And so, keeping up with the market, I think is important. I love keeping up with the marketplace. One of the things that I came up with about 6 months ago is the market meter. And I've tested it against a whole bunch of different times of the market, but I've been watching where that has been going over the past few months. And we were at a 9.68, so a 0 being a perfect buyer's market and a 10 being a perfect seller's market. Can't get any better. So we were at a 9.68. That's crazy fast. And so houses, multiple offers, just insane, flying off the shelf, houses going for 40, 50,000 over asking price. And not to say that there aren't still properties going into multiple offers. I know, Danny, you just mentioned one that went crazy over, but
22% and still didn't win.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does happen, but we've watched that market meter slowly work its way down. And the main stat that I track is the showings per listing per week. And Minneapolis and St. Paul, the cities themselves, they're down now. This is just the showings per listing per week, not the market meter. They're down to like 3.2, 3.3. That is crazy slow in comparison to the summer when it was above 8. Yeah. So, things are easing up, and a lot of that has to do with the election. Some of the stats that are playing into this is we have seen an influx of inventory pushing in late this year. And a lot of that is to do with the 2-month slowdown that we had due to the COVID shutdown stuff, right? That that put the brakes on our market, but then we came back out and hit the gas pedal and hit it hard. We've been tracking on showing activity nationwide, 15% above since we came out of that rut in June.
Yeah.
And new listings, if we look at, just going back to August, up 30%, up 16%. I'm just reading off weekly numbers, up 15%, up 14%, up 15%. That's a lot of listings weekly being injected in the market that weren't being injected at the same time last year.
Right.
So the other thing though that is a kind of leveling that out is pending sales. Pending sales are tracking ahead, and I think a lot of this has to do with interest rates that we're gonna talk about shortly. But there, even with the influx in new listings, that pending sales is bringing things back down. I mean, we're tracking right now on inventory of homes down by 20 9% looking back week of October 17th.
Wow.
So, I mean, I think people that are like, well, it's a bubble. You know, I think maybe our summer market was a little bit of a bubble in a sense.
Well, it's all related to affordability, though. So
right.
We're back to we actually improved home affordability with the reduction in interest rates. So homes are more affordable now than they were in 2016, even though they've skyrocketed in values. So we aren't in a bubble at the moment. Now, if interest rates jump to 6%, that'll change the equation considerably.
Right. So the prices may have gone up, but with the interest rates, and what's so interesting, I mean, I was thinking about this for my own purchase. I mean, when you're talking about, being off by, 1 full percentage point over where it was a year or two ago, that's a 25% drop in interest rate.
Yeah. It doesn't equate fully to 25% additional buying power because you have some fixed costs in there.
Right.
But you have a lot of people that picked up $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in buying power depending on their price point with minimal additional cash to close.
Yeah. I mean, for example, my wife and I are in the process of making a move, a purchase, and we're buying a home that's almost twice the price that we bought it at, and our payment is like $50 more a month.
Crazy.
Back from when we got it, So, I mean, the interest rates, it's crazy. It is crazy. It is making it a lot more affordable. So, yeah, we did have a very big jump in median sale price this summer. Our high point was up by 10.8%. Wow. Annual growth. That's huge.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You
don't see that in our market. You'll see that on the coasts. We typically tend to be a little more conservative at 4 to 7%. 10% is pretty huge.
And yeah, going back to that housing affordability piece, and I'm not necessarily the best at explaining housing affordability other than it factors in median sale price, interest rate. What else is in there? Do you know? Putting you on the spot.
No.
Well,
I checked out for 10 seconds and you hit me with a question.
Housing affordability index. Looking back, October 2019, it was going back. We're in a better position than we were.
Yeah.
Just a year ago. Okay. Something I wanted to touch on before we get into our predictions is really what our market's doing and some of the variations that we're seeing. So I had mentioned that the market meter being at a 9.68 previously. And now we are seeing the market as a whole, the Twin Cities as a whole, down to, I think it was 6.2 or 6.3 on that market meter. That's just a change in 3 months. But
would you say that's expected, though, with just the seasonality of things? Is it trending with what you would see?
I actually think I think our drop is actually accelerated a bit versus the seasonality, and I think it's due to election concerns.
What election?
I don't know. I thought there was an election coming up.
I don't know. I don't watch the news. I still don't know what that COVID comment was about.
And so now you're throwing me off my game there. No, so the election coming up, it traditionally slows the market down 3-4 weeks either side possibly of the election. That there's becomes a lot of buying fear, right? And it doesn't matter. It's just fear of the unknown, right? And so the market has gone from pacing at 30% faster in showing activity per listing to this week we were actually down by just a hair, just a little less than 1%. So we've gone from 30% faster to brakes on like that. I would not be surprised by next week to be in a position of being slower than we were at last year in showing activity.
So quick advice, if you're a buyer and you see a property that's been on the market for a little bit, go make an offer.
Yeah, it's a great time. So I'll sound like Wally McCarthy here, you know? Great time to go and buy a car. Got hot dogs for the kids. No, I mean, it is, the market is slowing down. It is sector by sector. Yes, there are still places where properties are going into multiple offers. But if there are the houses that are the ones that have been on for 5 days, they are negotiable.
Downtown condos.
Downtown condos are negotiable, yes. Well, and that's the thing. It's market by market. So when we look at Minneapolis, St. Paul, we're seeing the market that's not moving as fast necessarily as some of the suburbs. So you really want to make sure that you're talking to the agent, your agent, as to advice to what to do regarding your particular situation. Just a few seconds left. Following up with predictions. Yeah, for buyers, great time to get out and look. You don't have the competition levels because there is fear out there. But after the election, that fear is going to be gone and things will pick back up again. I'm very confident in saying that. For sellers, maybe sit tight. Maybe get ready to do your cancel relist or whatever. Utilize an opportunity to remarket the property right after the election. Well, Danny, I want to thank you again for joining us for these couple shows. If you ever have questions for us, you can give us a call, 651-303-0019. Take care, be safe, have a great week. All right, Facebook, hopefully you found that information valuable. Again, you can always hit us up. Any questions? Don't really have much of an after show, and I'm kind of tired.
All right.
It's an hour-long show.
Yeah. Takes it out of you.
All right, have a good one.